Can you name 5 short form videos that you watched today? Because I already know the answer and it says a lot about what's happening in your brain. I want to talk about something that I think is genuinely destroying your ability to get results. And I'm not talking about your diet. I'm not talking about your training program. I'm talking about what you're doing with your other 16 hours of your day. Brain rot. And before you roll your eyes at this term, stick with me for a second because it is actually serious, and by the end of this video you're going to understand it differently than you may ever have. So here's what I want you to think about first. Most addictions, they have a feedback loop. If you smoke too much, your lungs suffer, you feel it. If you drink too much, you wake up hungover. If you eat a ton of sugar, you crash out. 2 hours later, your body gives you a signal, right? There's a consequence that you can feel it, right? But short form content doesn't do that. And that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. You can spend hours scrolling on Instagram, Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. You walk away feeling nothing, right? Neurologically, almost nothing did happen. And that's not me being dramatic, by the way. That's actually what's going on in your brain. And here's a quick test. Can you name those 5 short form videos that you watched today? Maybe 3? Probably not. Right, but if I asked you to name a movie that you watched last month, podcast, a book, or a long YouTube video, you'd remember it. The reason is pretty simple. Short form content moves too fast for your brain to actually engage with it. The average video is like 10 seconds long. Your brain just doesn't have time to latch onto it and process it and file away. So it just doesn't. So you're not consuming information. You're not really even resting. You're not really experiencing anything. You're basically just conscious enough to scroll with your thumb. And so I want to sit on that for a second because I have a background in neuroscience and I studied it for 6 years. And this is what people don't understand about the brain. It's not a static organ. It's constantly being shaped by what you do with it. There's this principle, use it or lose it, right? Every time you engage in a behavior, the neurons involved in that behavior, they fire and they reinforce those connections. That's literally how habits are built on a biological level. But on the flip side, things are also true. If you stop using a certain neural pathway, they weaken. And that's the thing. This isn't just theory. There's the actual research on it. There's a research on nuns who are actively having conversations, games, social connections. Their brains age significantly slower than those who are sedentary or passive or watching TV all day. Their brains stay sharper. So when you spend hours scrolling through content that your brain isn't even processing, you're not just wasting time, you're literally not using your brain. Now, I work with women every single day who tell me that they can't stay consistent and they can't stop feeling like they have to keep starting over. They feel foggy, overwhelmed. They can't focus long enough to follow through. And when I dig into their daily habits, the scrolling is almost always there. Hours of it. And it's not just about time. Well, it's more than just about time. 25% of their day is scrolling. 25% of your life is scrolling. People don't realize that 4 hours of your day, of your waking day, is 25% of your life if you do that every day. Isn't that sad? Let that land for a second. It's about what the level of passive consumption is actually doing to your ability to think clearly, stay present, and to actually trust yourself. Discipline is a cognitive skill. Focus is a cognitive skill. The ability to just sit with discomfort long enough to do something hard, that's a cognitive skill. And you cannot build those things if a quarter of your day is spent basically on an unconscious state scrolling, getting dopamine hits from a slot machine that literally gives you nothing back. So here's what I want to add, because this is something that I'm watching in real time, and a lot of women are pairing constant short form scrolling with just outsourcing their entire ability to think. For AI, for example, ChatGPT, you're letting the algorithm decide things for you. And I get it, AI is a very powerful tool. I use it too. But if you constantly just rely on that, you lose your own ability to think critically. And eventually that atrophies. Eventually, if you're not using it, you're going to lose it. Especially as you get older, I can't emphasize this enough. You need to critically think. You need to practice these skills for yourself, not just keep outsourcing it. If you stop using that muscle, it does go away, just like any other muscle. And that matters for your body goals too, by the way, not just your mindset. Because if you can't think clearly about your own body, your own hunger, your own cues, your own habits, you will always be dependent on someone else handing you an answer. You'll keep outsourcing your results instead of building the internal systems that actually makes them stick. And the women that I coach who see the most transformations, it's not because they found a perfect plan. It's because they started rebuilding their capacity to think, to choose intentionally, to be present in their own lives, and to start protecting their brain. So here's what I want you to take from this video. Short form content is not just a harmless little habit, it's a silent one. It doesn't hurt in the way that other addictions do, but it costs you your mental sharpness, your focus, your ability to stay consistent, your time, genuinely a massive chunk of your life. And if you're someone who feels like you keep starting over, you can't stay motivated, foggy, overwhelmed all the time, all those things, I want you to look at this before you look at your macros or your workout split. What are your habits? Protect your brain, protect your attention, because nothing I teach you about fat loss or building muscle or staying consistent will ever stick if you're spending 25% of your life in an unconscious scroll. I'll put a link down below, free training if you want to start building systems that actually make you sustain your results. But if you don't click that, just think about what your attention is going today. Okay? See you in the next one.